Did not, so far. Good. You've kept it secret. I mean, other than everybody can see on Twitch. But we're not spamming the Discord.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, so
Should
tell me about some of what you've already done to change this D&D 5e scenario into a Pathfinder 2e.
Okay. I'm going to put it up on the big TV as well.
Fancy, yeah.
We'll just stream everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically we got our 3 characters again. Heals, punch, and zaps. Ignore the necromancer. Not using that one. And so let's start with punch.
Yeah.
Again, we have a dwarf fighter. We've gone with stuff that has similar. The background was, I don't remember what the background was on 5e. I actually built these before we put the backgrounds on them, so
okay, yeah.
but that could be changed to whatever. Right now it says farmhand, which gives them gives her a bonus on athletics. But
hero in 5e was what you gave.
Thank you. Yeah, and I don't know Pathfinder well enough to fix that, so we're just gonna leave it for now.
Yeah, it doesn't matter that much.
No. So equipment wise, she had an axe and shield, so I've given her an axe and shield and some throwing axes and chainmail and all the regular stuff. It just gave an adventurer's kit. Whatever comes in the fighter adventurer's kit is in here. I didn't go through to make sure that the equipment was 1-to-1. Skill wise, I got basically the same stuff where applicable. We've got acrobatics and athletics and intimidation and nature and survival, and I have to go back and double check to see, but I tried to match those up 1-to-1. And like the 5e dwarf that she was had resistance to poison, so I picked the dwarf ancestry in Pathfinder that has resistance to poison to keep that as similar as possible. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And the other stuff that'll play differently is just a feature of Pathfinder. Like she has power attack where she can swing for double damage. But it puts her at a disadvantage to keep attacking. It's 2 actions basically. It's Pathfinder stuff. We don't need to get too detailed about it. We can sort that out later. But yeah, she's pretty much the same. But she's a fighter, so that's that's pretty basic. The 2 spellcasters will get a little more different.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so we have Zaps, our elf wizard. Again, I don't remember what background I did.
Find that out for you.
Set her up as a scholar. Sage. Pretty close.
Yeah.
In Pathfinder, your background gives you a couple of skills and stat boost. So you, more so than D&D, you want to make sure you have one that reflects your character. In this case, I took the one that gives a +2 intelligence so that she could have an 18 intelligence. I don't remember what other features it has. Gives academia lore and one of the magic skills trained. So, again, I haven't dug really deep in these. You'll notice these characters have 6 to 10 more hit points than their D&D counterparts. Pathfinder has a higher hit point scale. Weapons will do more damage at higher levels, and you'll get more. Basically, you get about double the D&D hit points every level. You get the full die's worth rather than the average of the best. Like a D8 will give you 5 hit points in D&D. It'll give you 8 hit points in Pathfinder. And so, yeah, she's pretty much the same. Skills, I think, are pretty much the same. Spells, we had to change things up just to reflect the spell lists in the various games. We gave her Magic Missile again. She's got something called Force Bolt, which is like once per encounter single magic missile that only takes one action. Would be like a bonus action in D&D. So that's just a feature of being a Pathfinder wizard of her school. She's got a bunch of cantrips, do some damage, light, read aura, which is a sort of detect magic type of thing. Yeah. Detect magic on a single item, that kind of stuff. So she's pretty similar. Again, equipped with a dagger. I think a staff as well. So this free action drain bonded item is the exact same feature as... This is an optional feat. You get to customize your Pathfinder character a little bit more. Took this one because it matched the arcane recovery in D&D. Once per day, you can use this to get a spell back that you've already cast. Big difference, Pathfinder uses spell slots memorization rather than just X number of slots you get to cast X number of spells. So she has already cast Mage Armor today, so Mage Armor is eliminated from her spell list right now. She's got Magic Missile and Grease. Grease was like, I think she got that from being an elf or something. So she can cast Magic Missile once, and she can cast Grease once. She cannot do Magic Missile twice or Grease twice.
That's a little bit less flexible.
It's a little bit less flexible, but in this case, the Drain Bonded item is a free action, whereas in D&D it's a short rest action. So she could cast Magic Missile, then as a free action, get the Magic Missile back out of her staff, and then cast Magic Missile again next turn. So she's got the same number of spells. There's a little bit of flexibility, but yeah, it's not built in as flexible as D&D is. Mage Armor is not as good in this. It gives you +1 to your existing armor class rather than giving you a new armor class formula, but whatever. I think it's about the same for her, frankly. Armor class 17 in Pathfinder is about like armor class 13 in TNT. There's much bigger numbers over here. Like her spells, and we'll deal with that. Yeah, so she's pretty much the same. Or they. Our cleric gave him an acolyte background. I think we had acolyte background on 5th edition.
Correct.
Hey, it worked out. It's inscribing lore. He gains the Student of the Canon skill feat. What does that do? Oh, I have a Facebook message. Yay. If you roll a critical failure on a religion check to decipher writing or to recall knowledge about religion, you get a normal failure instead. That's a Pathfinder thing. They have 4 levels of success and failure rather than just the binary of D&D. So it's not going to come up in this. We're not going to be, checking out any religious texts, I'm pretty sure, unless we go far afield of what we've already established here. He's got... Again, I gave, he's got a mace and a shield. Can go into combat. He's got some splint mail. I don't remember what armor he had in D&D, but basically around the same armor class. Just tried to go for the same skills. I'm just bringing them up so we can compare. I'm not sure if the import worked perfectly and brought over all the skills, frankly, but... We'll have a look at it. Big thing again with spells. Go to the spell page. We've got Bless again. We need to recover all of his spells. Spells should be... Oh, gosh. He doesn't seem to be properly set up yet. Divine Font should be giving him extra spell slots. I'll probably have to pick Healing Font. Let's go find that real quick. should be having extra spell slots here for heal spells equal to number of slots is equal to 1 plus your charisma modifier. His charisma modifier is 1, so he should have 2 free healing font spells in his. So that hasn't been created properly. So I'm going to mess around with the builder real quick, see if I can get that set up. Just delete it. Add it back in. Add focus. Okay, so we've run into a problem with the. It's interesting. What's that?
Is it a problem with importing to Foundry from?
It might be. It might be that I need to make a brand new character. I know the pre-built cleric in here has that already. Where is she? Pre-generated PCs, iconics. Go and find Kira. Her spellcasting. Oops. Spellcasting has Fire Ray. And she's innate divine spells heal. Maybe I just need to add it as innate divine spells. Let's see the feats. Divine font. It says divine font on it. I can't add it. Okay, so something's going wrong, but I need to just add them as innate spells. Do that. Divine, innate spells. I think it's heal. Oops. Heck. He gets that twice per day because there we go. It is. I had to do some messing around to get it added, but there it is. Spell ability should be wisdom. Not that the spell attack and spell DC matter at all for heal, but well, actually it does. You can cast heal in Pathfinder. You can use heal Final Fantasy style to attack an undead and have it take damage from the attack. So that's a different feature. So yeah, actually, spell attack or spell DC is important for his heal. But so twice per day, I believe he can cast these extra healing spells. So that's sort of making up for the lack of flexible casting. He's got 2. He might do 3 spells, but whatever. He's got 2 spells, Bless and Sanctuary. Bless is different from 5e Bless. It's not a plus d4, it's just a +1 to attack rolls. And it's just attack rolls, it's not skills. But it's just everybody in the 5-foot area, and every time he sustains it, it grows in area, which is... so it starts at 5 feet, then goes to 10-foot radius, then 15. If he sustains it for the entire potential minute, it'd be like, 50-foot radius blast going on. So he should have some cantrips. Let's get some cantrips in here. Cantrips. He should have access to 5 different cantrips. Divine Lance, which is basically Sacred Flame. We've got Stabilize cantrip, which 30-foot range to stabilize someone who's dying as a 2-action cantrip. That's another different thing with Pathfinder. We'll get into the actions, but most of the spells cost 2 of your 3 actions to cast. There's a few that don't. Magic Missile can be 1, 2, or 3, depending on how many missiles you want to fire. Guidance is 1. Very similar to D&D Guidance, but again, Pathfinder just gives a +1 rather than a plus D4. Guidance also, you can't spam it like you can in D&D, where basically, if the cleric has guidance, every time you know you're going to make a skill check in the group, you just go, "Ooh, hang on, guidance. Now you have a D4 to climb, and now the next person's going to climb. Hang on, guidance. Oh, now the next person's going to climb. Hang on, guidance." Target becomes temporarily immune to the spell for 1 hour after using it, so you have to think about that a little bit more.
Yeah.
So, little system differences, obviously.
It's going to, our subsequent tests are going to be very different.
Yes, this is very little ticky-tacky differences between the two game systems.
But importantly, Paizo has a much better track record with marginalized people.
Yes.
Wizards of the Coast, so if you just want something as D&D-like as possible, and
with less crappy company behind it, as far as we can tell, their track record is pretty strong, going back to 2002, I think, was when they were founded. Their first trans iconic character was 2014, I think. They've got an exciting new adventure path that I want to get into that's set in basically their world's Africa, and it's all written by people of color. There's I think one, well, whatever, mostly written by people of color. It's just such a different feel from D&D, like setting wise, the setting is far more you probably have a better way to say all these things, but it is just, I'm super impressed, and I have been impressed with them for a while. I've always wanted to give one of their games a try. Pathfinder First Edition I really didn't like because it was just more of D&D Third Edition, that giant grind of a million things going on. So now they've got a game that's a little more interesting to me. I'm loving getting a chance to play in their world. All
right, so should we get started with our scenario then?
Let's get started with our scenario.
So in our 5e game, we started with this obstacle course that we're putting them through, where they use a bunch of different skills and stuff. So the first thing we did was we had them traverse this gap in the bridge.
Right.
So we had Punch make an athletics check in 5e to jump across the bridge and attach rope, and if that works, the rest of the gang has an easy DC instead of a moderate DC to get across.
Yes.
And any failure cost a D6 of falling damage.
Okay, that sounds. That's mostly going to stay the same. Pathfinder does falling damage as just half the distance in damage, so let's call it a 10-foot drop. If they fall, they'll just take a straight 5 damage.
Sounds great.
They've got more hit points than D&D characters, so that'll work out fine. Also, I just checked the DCs, the Pathfinder DCs, and a simple DC for trained, something you should be trained to be able to do is 15, and something you should be able to do untrained is 10, so we're just going to keep those numbers here, even though these people might have much better modifiers. I don't know.
So is there a big difference in how jump works in Pathfinder?
Yeah, so jump in Pathfinder, there's a specific set of rules. In D&D, you jump your strength score in feet when making a horizontal jump.
And with differences between if you get a run up versus if you're standing still.
Yeah, you go half that if you don't take a run up. So if you got a strength of 12, you can jump 12 feet or 6 feet. If you got a strength of 18, you can jump 18 feet or 9 feet. You cannot be, the world record for the long jump is like 29 feet. You can't get a 29 strength in D&D, so it's just not possible to replicate that.
Yeah. Except for some shenanigans.
Except through some magical shenanigans, which are, let's be real, world-class track athletes have magical shenanigans. So yeah, the basic leap action in Pathfinder allows you to jump 10 feet if your speed is at least 15 feet, or 15 if your speed is at least 30. So in this case, Punch's speed is learning the new character sheet. I don't know. It's on here somewhere. Speed, 20 feet. It's dwarf in heavy armor. So she can only make 10 feet on her jump without making a skill check. D&D, the rule for long jumping is your DM can choose to let you make an athletics check and do what they want with the score of the athletics check. Pathfinder, in order to make a long jump, you attempt a horizontal leap, make an athletics check with a DC equal to the total distance in feet you're trying to move during the leap. So since you can already go 10 feet, you don't even have to roll for that. But if you're going farther than that, you'll have to roll. Basically, your DC is the distance you're going. You want to go 20 feet, your DC is 20. You want to go 40 feet, your DC is 40. Good luck. You can't go farther than your speed, but, whatever. So what we'll do is we'll call it a 15-foot gap, since we've assigned the DC of 15, and she's going to make that attempt. And there's a whole scale of if she succeeds and fails. If she succeeds, she makes it the distance she wanted. If she fails, she leaps normally, which means she'll leap 10 feet out into this 15-foot gap and fall to the bottom. If she critically fails, then she leaps normally, but then even if she landed on even if she landed on the other side, she would fall down and fall prone. So that can, if you're jumping around in a battle, like trying to clear a barricade, that's right in there. I mean, DMs in D&D often will do that as well. You rolled a natural 1, I'm going to come up with something that happened to you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do Punch's leap here, which is an athletics check. And she failed. There she goes. Down in the hole. 5 damage for Punch.
Alright, is there a better character in this party to make the leap across?
That is a good question.
With this different rule set.
That's a good question. Skill-wise... Oh, that's true. If any of them has a 30-foot move, like Zaps has a 30-foot move, and could just do it without even rolling the skill check.
Just like an elf.
Just like an elf.
Yeah.
Just spring right across there.
What's your problem?
So yeah, Zaps could be like, haha, I'm on the other side. Why are you failing? Our cleric is in heavy armor as well and has a speed of 20 feet.
Okay, so Zaps should probably secure some sort of...
So we'll assume that this party is smarter and knows, the difference between the game systems. We'll give Punch her hit points back, and Zaps will just automatically cross the gap and provide them with a rope to, that's what we did last time. We provided them with a rope, and then they used athletics to basically climb across.
Yeah.
What
would that kind of look like in Pathfinder, do you think? Look up.
That would be the climb. You move up, down, or across an incline, or you're using a rope. So that has different DCs here, and that is that is also an athletics check. GM determines the DC. This is more vague, like D&D. The DM just determines how hard do I think that would be. I think it would be this, Yeah. So in that case, we'll stick with what we did with D&D and make that a fairly easy rope crossing that either you're jumping while holding the rope so you don't fall if you fail, or you're just crawling across on the rope. I mean, we can make it an acrobatics to balance to get across, but I don't think our characters have good acrobatics. So, yeah, let's just, we'll go with the DC 10 athletics. We'll give Punch credit for the 10 that she already rolled, for assuming this party's smarter than the last one. Now, an interesting thing is, in D&D, you could choose to have advantage if you had inspiration already, which would allow you to roll twice and take the higher. Pathfinder has hero points, which are similar except they're retroactive. You can roll the die, go, oops, I failed, and then use your hero point to re-roll. So it's a resource point that's a little more reactive. It's similar to inspiration in that you'll get it for doing cool things during the game. There's no personality trait like there is in 5th edition to key off of and say, oh, you're selfish, and because you acted selfish, I'm going to give you an inspiration. It's just DM's whim. They are advised, the DM, to hand out 1 hero point approximately per hour of play, not per player, just per hour of play. So if you're playing for 3 or 4 hours, you're going to see 3 or 4 extra hero points. But importantly, unlike inspiration, you always start the session with 1 hero point. So that lets you you can kind of gauge how you can know, okay, we're about to, if we get through this, we're going to finish this quest point, and I'll bet everybody gets a hero point when we finish this big quest. So I'm going to spend this to make sure that I hit and we succeed.
Nice.
They also can be used to keep you from dying, so spending that last one is a bit of a risk. All right, so we'll just we'll take Heels' kind of pathetic athletics here and see how it goes. 17. Yay. Heels is fine. All right, we're across. And so yeah, we had to take a different approach because of the different game system.
Different characters had a different kind of chance to shine.
Yeah, the elf wizard, who I believe is not trained in athletics, just because she's an elf and light on her feet, was able to show off both of our, let's see, yeah, our cleric is -5 feet on his speed because of armor. Our dwarf is just slow. Dwarves are 20-foot speed in Pathfinder. It's important to note that the action economy makes 20-foot speed not as devastating as it is in D&D. Because you can triple move in Pathfinder. You get 3 actions and you do whatever that you want with them. It's not a tiered action system like D&D. You can attack 3 times. You can move 3 times. You can, cast a spell using up all 3 of your actions. There's penalties for doing the same thing multiple times. If you attack 3 times in a row, you're going to get scaling penalties to your attack rolls. So it's to encourage a diverse sort of, I'm going to attack and then move over here and then taunt that guy, that kind of stuff. Okay. So the next thing we had was...
The next thing we did was figure out how to traverse loose planks. So first we had someone have to notice the loose planks. And then if they failed, they had to make a subsequent dex save of medium difficulty to avoid taking damage.
Okay.
And,
we'll go with the same thing. Oh no, it's a 10-foot fall if you fail. What order did we go in last time?
I did not note that.
Okay.
On the video, but
right.
I think it was just
Why is your perception so bad? Probably low wisdom. Wisdom of 10. Yeah. All right. Zaps has pretty crap perception, so I should probably not go first. Punch has a +7 perception. Heels has a +7 perception. Oh, hang on. I think I just saw something. Punch is an expert in perception.
All right. Expert. Tell me about expert.
So skill training in D&D is binary. You're either trained or you're not. And if you're trained, you add your proficiency bonus based on your level. In Pathfinder, it starts the same. You can be untrained, and then you can be trained. Up from there, you can be an expert, master, or legendary in a skill. Oops, how do I decrement? So, being trained, gives you basically what D&D does. It gives you plus, like at first level, it gives you +3 to your check. Each one past that is another +2. So an expert is an extra +2. A master is an extra +2 beyond that. Legendary is an extra +2 beyond that. Also, you can attempt more difficult things. A lot of these skill checks will have this. Doing this sort of thing requires you to be a master. So legendary acrobatics allows you to run across still water, for instance.
Oh, nice, nice,
that kind of very epic sort of thing.
It kind of feels like the utility powers in D&D 4e.
Similar, yeah. And there's some feats there's skill feats in Pathfinder as well, which let you really, really dive into that. So another thing so what's important here is there's an activity you can do in exploration mode, which is where we are here, called Follow the Expert.
Ooh.
You can only follow an expert if you have an expert. Can't follow someone if you're trained...
designated as an expert.
Yes, you must have the expert proficiency in order for somebody to follow, to benefit from following your lead. So Punch has expert training and perception, so she can lead the way, and then everybody else who follows the expert will get a bonus to their roll based on how that first roll, based on her training. I believe it starts at +2. I'm checking the rules. Follow the expert. It doesn't give me the rule. Try again. Action. Follow the expert. You gain a circumstance bonus to your skill check based on your ally's proficiency. +2 for expert, +3 for master, +4 for legendary. So, yeah, basically, does she have to succeed? When following the expert, you match their tactic or attempt similar skill checks. Thanks to your allies' assistance, you can add your level as a proficiency bonus, even if you're untrained. Oh, nice. That's even better. So, in Pathfinder, you add your level to a lot of stuff. Like if you're 10th level and untrained in if you're 10th level and you're trained in something, you've also got an extra +10 on whatever's happening there. If you're untrained, however, you don't get that level. If you're a wizard wearing plate mail, you don't get that +10 levels because you're not proficient in heavy armor, so you're going to be pretty bad. So not only does Follow the Expert give a +2, but if somebody here were untrained in perception, they would get to add their level in as well. So that's a big benefit, and it's going to be even bigger at future levels.
Yeah.
It's not as important right now because almost everybody is at least trained in perception, except for things that like don't have sight, or even then they usually have an alternate.
Yeah, but I could see that being really, really useful in various exploration, like dungeon crawls.
Oh yeah, and
especially when you get to things like, can you do that with like knowledge skills?
I'm not sure. Let's see. You attempt a recurring skill check while exploring, such as climbing or avoiding notice.
Okay.
So it seems like it's very much physical. Okay. Follow the path that they're going on. I could see somebody like, okay, we're gonna go get into this library and research the history of this lich. If you've got an expert guiding the research, then they can tell Xander which book to look in, and and at least he'll be on the right track instead of just picking random books off a shelf.
Yeah.
So it obviously, it's pretty flexible. It'd be up to the DM, obviously, and whether it applies or not. But yeah, that I like that a lot.
Okay, so
all right, so Punch is going to attempt to go. So in the D&D, everybody was on their own. They made their perception check, and if they failed, they failed. Everybody made their perception check, of course. Now Punch is leading the way, and the others can be like, oh, Punch went that way. I will follow her steps. Of course, they might not do a good job of following her steps. They might step on a board that she didn't step on. But, all right. So we're going to do her perception. And she's got a 25.
Wow.
So it was a 15 to get through here. So that is a critical success. Anytime you beat the DC or armor class by 10 or more in Pathfinder, you get a critical success, which gives you extra benefits. There's not a listed extra benefit for making a perception check in here. But as a DM, I would be like, oh, well, you're leading the way. Let's increase your benefit to the people following you to a +3 or a +4 instead of the +2, right? So let's try that. Let's say so. Who's next? We'll have Zaps go next. She's gonna make a perception check. How do I make shift? Yeah, and then I can just add a +4, or I could give more fortune or misfortune, which are the Pathfinder version of advantage and disadvantage. Roll 2 dice and
mess around with as many
yeah
mechanics as we got.
So yeah, so we'll give her a +2 from following the expert. Add that in, and then let's give her fortune for the critical success on on Punch's move. So she'll roll twice, take the higher, have a 22, and is easily through. On her own, well, the higher roll was a 17, but had she been stuck with the lower roll and her own normal perception, that would have been a 14, and she could have fallen. So that's worth noting, just for difference in system. Now let's try the same thing with Heels, who also has a +7 perception. He's just got a higher wisdom than he's not as well trained as our fighter Punch, which is interesting. I'm not sure how she got I don't know the system well enough to know why she's an expert on perception. Could be something in her background, could be something in her class, could be something from her ancestry. I don't know. Could be an error, but we're going with it for now. So let's get a roll from this guy. Same thing. We'll give him a +2. We'll give him fortune. Add that in. Roll. Oop, I forgot to hit fortune, but he's across with a 21.
Very good.
Which he did not need. He could have made it on his own, but whatever.
Okay. I need to take a break real quick.
All right, we're going to pause while we set up for crossing the troll bridge.
There's a get lost as well.
Oh, yes, we need to get lost, which will be a survival check, probably. I'll look through the rules, say hello if anybody's watching. Nobody's watching. Excellent. What am I looking for? General activities, exploration mode. Now, of course, I'm completely lost. Exploration. Probably nature or survival. Don't remember what we did in D&D. Sense direction, survival, untrained action. That seems right. Using the stars, position of the sun. You can figure out where you're going. Okay, so there's an exploration activity in Pathfinder called Sense Direction. which is what we'd be looking for here, unless they were specifically tracking somebody.
Yeah.
But sense direction will
maybe try both if there's two different exploration activities that we wouldn't otherwise interact with.
Yeah, sure, yeah, I dig it. Okay, so you need to be trained in survival to track somebody. Any idiot can try to sense direction. So let me look at what skills we have. Survival punch is trained. Zaps is not. And heals is not, but has a pretty good wisdom. Wisdom, clearly, with the cleric. So we can have punch try to track, like they've lost the trail or something. So try to find the trail. And we can have heals. Heals can... So in Pathfinder, you have different exploration activities.
Right.
You basically set a longer term activity for a period of time where... So if you're moving through a dungeon, you're not doing a stealth check every time you go around a corner. You just say, I'm taking the avoid notice... I'm going to try to avoid notice, and I'm going to make one stealth check, and that's going to count until, the DM makes something interesting happen. So that way you don't have to, keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. So in this case, as Zaps is pretty good at stealth, what we can do is have, just in case there's, who knows what wild things are out in these woods.
Well, we've got Trollbridge coming up next, which is a stealth.
Yes, right. I was going to have her avoid notice, but she could do something else. Go back to exploration mode. There's detect magic, follow the expert, investigate, scout. Scout do. Good. There's more than this is just the basic lists, but
right.
Search.
Is there a default way each of these exploration modes works, or is it more like these are just different names for using different skills in exploration mode?
There is a default way that each of these works.
Okay.
Detect magic that we covered. Follow the expert. Investigate, as with searching or detecting magic. Ensures that doesn't have all the details here, annoyingly. There we go. This one actually has links on it. So, scout. You scout ahead and behind the group to watch for danger, moving at half speed at the start of the next encounter. Every creature in your party gets a +1 circumstance bonus to their initiative rolls. So that requires no checks at all. That's just, I'm going to scout ahead, so we're more prepared for things happening. Search is you seek meticulously for... Seek is in capital. Seek is the what you do in combat. That's the 1 or 2 actions. I'm trying to find somebody who's hidden. This is a longer term exploration ability, so it's just saying you're seeking over and over and over and over again.
Gotcha.
And you're basically going to make one check or so if you come across... The way this one works is if you come across something worth looking for, the game master automatically secretly rolls your perception to see if you notice it. So you don't have to keep saying, I'm going to roll perception, I'm going to roll perception, I'm going to look, what's around that corner, what's on that door, it's just telling the GM, if there's something I could notice, roll for me to see if I notice.
Gotcha.
There's a lot of that in Pathfinder. They've got a keyword for it. Some of your abilities are going to say secret on them. And that means the DM rolls for you and notes the results. And that's just part of the rules.
Nice.
D&D, sometimes people will do that, and sometimes they won't. But it gets rid of that, I rolled a 2 on perception. Somebody else listen at the door. Oh, you rolled a 1. Okay, somebody else listen at the door.
Right.
There's even so far as there's, like, if you're gathering information in a town, trying to find rumors, if you critically fail the DC for that town, the GM is instructed to tell you things that are wrong.
Yeah.
Obviously, anybody can do that in D&D.
But it's less explicit.
It's less explicit, right. Okay. So, yeah, she can just our wizard can just be on guard, scouting around while these two are trying not to get lost. The wizard's just keeping her eyes out, so if they do get ambushed, they all get +1 to their to what they're doing. So we're going to be doing survival for Punch. We'll call it a DC 15 again to try to find, try to track. Oops, I just overtrained her rather than rolling a number. A 23.
Wow.
All right. So she has found the trail, but just to have extra information, because that might have been a secret check. I'm not sure. And they might not know if that's actually the right trail. So let's have Heels make his what direction are we going survival check. He's got a 20. So, yeah, they both agree that they're going the right way and they found the path. If he had gotten a critical failure, i.e. a 5 or lower, which he would have had to roll a 1, then he might have had misinformation and they might have gotten lost and, you know, taken some fatigue or something for going their own way. But all is well. Okay. Now we reach a troll bridge. And of course, I have not been looking at the cantrips that these folks have that they could use to get through this stuff.
Well, this might be an interesting time to look at that.
Yeah.
Cantrips for exploration.
Cantrips for exploration. So we have, I mean, Detect Magic is one of those, but I don't think anybody here has Detect Magic as a cantrip. So that's nothing. But we've got light. We've got a shield. Shield is a cantrip in this game. It works completely differently from shield in D&D. It actually makes a shield, which interacts with the built-in shield blocking rules in Pathfinder. Once you actually block with it, it gets like a 1 minute, a 10 minutes recharge. But if you never actually have to block with it, then you can just keep spamming shield every turn until you actually have to use it to block an attack where it'll soak up some damage. I wonder if it makes you immune to magic missile. You can use the spell's reaction against a magic missile, unlike normal shields. So they kept that functionality. It doesn't do the exact same thing. It's going to prevent 5 damage, but magic missile does D4 + 1. So. But it's only going to stop one of the missiles. If somebody shoots 3 at you, you're going to get hit by the other 2. Our cleric has prestidigitation. That was thaumaturgy in D&D. They've basically put prestidigitation on both the arcane and the divine spell lists because it's the same kind of, you know, do a minor magic trick kind of thing. You know, make a temporary object, clean something, move, a little bit of telekinesis, do some cooking, that kind of stuff. So the best we have is we do have this guidance spell, which Heels can throw on somebody. Probably the last time we had, like, whoever makes it across, if they make it across, the others can follow them. I sort of ad hoc made a follow the expert rule for for our last one.
Make subsequent checks an advantage.
Yeah.
And we had Zaps go first with that stealth, rolling with inspiration in 5e.
Right, because we knew the consequences of one successful stealth would be everybody else can follow that same path and have an advantage. We can just basically do that the same way here. I'm not sure there's a reason not to. If Zaps were an expert at stealth, then we could do similar to the follow the expert, but she's not an expert. She's just good at it.
But yeah, obviously if you can ad-lib something in one system, you can ad-lib it in another, but I'm really interested in knowing if there's anything else that interacts with stealth that could be used in this situation.
So if we were on the avoid notice activity, so let's say rather than making this just a very vague, there's a troll under here, and if you fail your skill check, it's going to throw a rock at you, and you take D6 damage or something. Let's say there's a potential combat encounter down here.
Okay.
And there's a troll, and if you sneak past it, one thing I really like in Pathfinder is they make it explicit that if you overcome a monster, either by defeating it in combat or just getting around it with your skill checks, you get the experience points either way.
Nice.
So, to prevent the whole, well, we could sneak past him, but we have to murder him to take his experience points kind of thing. So let's say there's an actual troll down here, and we're ready to go. I'm obviously not prepped for it. The game master's ready to go to combat if the troll notices anybody.
Yeah.
So we could be using the avoid notice exploration activity.
Right.
And what we would do is we would go in, we'd do our stealth checks. It'd be, up to a point, it'd be exactly the same as the D&D. We're making our stealth checks, we see if we get across. In D&D, if we failed, somebody got hit by a rock, took a d6 damage. In this, let's say we've set the consequences as, if somebody fails their stealth, we're going to combat, the troll's going to come rushing out and tackle whoever they saw. Whoever's avoiding, normally in Pathfinder, when you roll initiative, you roll using your perception skill, not your dexterity bonus. However, based on these circumstances, and perception isn't technically a skill, but that's not important right now. Based on the circumstances, you can use one of your other skills. For instance, if you're avoiding notice when combat starts, it specifically says in the rulebook, you can make your initiative check with a stealth check.
Right.
And if your stealth check on initiative is higher than the perception DC of the enemy, you will start combat hidden.
Right. We're going over this again when we get to our actual combat encounter.
Yeah, I just I got that. So I mean, it could be we're trying to we're trying to follow that path, and there's a trap. Some kobolds have set out a pit trap. We might use survival for initiative because whoever's trying to follow the path notices something weird in the path. We're in the middle of, stealing some stuff. We might use thievery. We're in the middle of lying to the cops about what we're doing here. We might take initiative with deception, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot of options. So, in this case, it's not going to make a lot of difference because we don't have an actual troll. It would probably be along the lines of, okay, we'll treat them all as avoiding notice if they use stealth, if they want to use their stealth to get across here, and I'll let them use stealth for initiative. But other than that, it's going to be pretty much the same as D&D. Roll some stealth, see if you make it. So let's start with zaps, and we can do the same thing where if they succeed, then the ones behind can get a bonus of some kind.
Yeah, do they have a hero point to use where
they do have a hero point available, so if that so in this case, they know it's important, but they don't have to spend the resource first on spec. They can see if they hose the roll and then go from there. Let's see. Hey, look at that.
Nice.
So everything stays the same. We're going to re-roll using a hero point. 13, which still isn't good enough.
Yeah.
All right.
So they take some damage.
So they're going to take some damage. Let's throw a d6 damage at them. Oh, it's fine. The trolls just
so
ping.
What if that was a random projectile? Would they be able to make in D&D we might make them make a dexterity save to avoid getting hit by the rock? Is there?
It's different. They go back to the 3rd edition style fortitude, reflex, and will saves.
The 4th edition?
Well, they were originally in 3rd edition.
Okay.
4th edition had them as well.
Cool.
So fortitude is based off of your. I don't remember exactly. In 4th edition, each of these was the better of 2 stats. I think in this it's just straight up Constitution, Dexterity, and will might be the better of Charisma or Wisdom. I don't remember. It's all being auto-figured right now. I don't have to remember right now. But so some differences. Obviously there's no such thing as a strength saving throw in Pathfinder. There's just a fortitude save if somebody's trying to tackle you, and there's no such thing as an intelligence saving throw. It's going to be a will save or a reflex save or something like that. Or it might be all of your skills, pretty much everything on your sheet has a passive DC, just like in D&D. Right. Like your passive perception in D&D is 10 plus your perception. if somebody's trying to tackle you, they're going to be going up against your passive acrobatics or whatever, not necessarily your reflex save. Yeah.
So if a rock is thrown at Zaps there, what would they?
Normally that would it's a thrown projectile that's probably just going straight at armor class.
Okay.
You know. We just went with a vague. If you fail, you take a little damage. But
Absolutely, but I want to explore it.
Yeah, we could make it armor class. We could make it reflex. We could, like I said, make it acrobatics. You know, something that's rolling against your acrobatics DC of 16, or your like. Yeah, I can't think of anything else right now. But yeah.
Okay.
All right. So Zaps is across and is giving no benefit to these two. We're gonna have to deal with their own troll rock problems. All right, so DC 15. Both of these have low enough skill that they could critically fail, which the default for critical failure on these kinds of things is just double damage.
Okay.
So let's see how Punch does. As mentioned, a critical failure. It was a 3 on the die, but it's more than 10 or more lower than the DC. So Punch dodges the wrong way, and we'll just double the D6, the damage, which is, interestingly, they don't double the number of dice rolled in Pathfinder. They just
roll the dice and then double that.
Yep.
Good to know.
Oh, this is going much worse for the team this time around.
Well, good thing once they're done with this, they get a rest.
Yes. Well, heals is across on a crit.
Nice.
So,
is a natural 20 a crit, even if it's not 10 above the...
asterisk, yes.
Okay.
Yes, asterisk. A natural 20 bumps your level of success up 1, and a natural 1 bumps your level of success down 1.
Nice.
So if the DC was like 30, let's go 25. Say the DC was 25, then with a 20 there, a natural 20, heals, a 20 versus 25 is a failure. Heals bumps that up to a success because of the crit. If the DC was, 5, then that success would be a critical success. Here, same thing. It's if the DC was 30, Heals is way out of his element, has ended up in hell, and is trying to convince some greater devil that he's harmless. Then let's say the DC is 30. With a total of 20, that's a critical failure. It's more than 10 below the DC. But because of the 20 on the die, that bumps it up from critical failure to normal failure, which obviously is going to have less bad consequences. Yeah. Almost all spells have what's called a basic save. It'll tell you which save to make, and they all follow that same thing. And they've got a little chart, like a really easy one like Fireball will be, you critically you succeed, you take normal damage, or sorry, you fail, you take normal damage, you succeed, you take half damage, just like D&D. But if you critically succeed, you take no damage, and if you critically fail, you take double damage. Yeah, so it gives, it lets your spellcasters with saving throw spells actually crit again, which is very nice. And it makes for a big swing, I've been using that a little bit in my D&D. If somebody gets a really good saving throw, I will just tell them, no, you completely dodged that. I don't care if you're a rogue or barbarian or whoever has, whichever classes have uncanny dodge. You are out of there. You completely avoided that. So that's another thing that's been fun doing this, is finding rules from other systems and just saying, I like that.
Them into your homebrew.
Yeah, just make your own game, especially like this, where it's multiple D&D versions, basically. Then they're really compatible. All right, so now our group wants to rest.
Yes.
Tell
me about resting.
There's no such thing as a short rest in Pathfinder.
All right.
However, there are a lot of activities that you can just spend 10 minutes doing in order to... Let's see, where's my actions? Have I put it on here? No. So, in place of the in place of hit dice, there's no hit dice in this game. There's basically the medicine skill, which somebody should be trained in here, or we're in trouble. There we go. Heals is trained in medicine. So there's a treat wounds activity. Takes 10 minutes that you can do with your medical kit, your healer's kit, to make a skill check to restore health to somebody. So let's find our treat wounds. So in this case, Zaps is down 1 hit point, whatever. Punch is down 8. So heals can say, okay, I'm gonna do a treat wounds action, and I'm going to make a medicine check at a DC of 15, though the GM can adjust it based on circumstances, blah, blah, blah. And this is another one where higher skill allows you to do more. If you're an expert, you can try a DC 20. If you're a master, you can try DC 30. By choosing the DC of the attempt, you choose how many hit points you're going to heal. Okay. Heals is...
Would bumping up that DC make failure state much worse? Like you would have surgery and you would just...
Yes. Well, no, it doesn't make... The critical fail is always the target takes D8 damage, so you can't make it worse. You just make the chance of critically failing more likely.
More likely. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Or the chance of failing. So the big thing with this is it takes 10 minutes, but when you use it on somebody, they are immune to it for an hour. So if you try for the high DC and then you fail, you're going to have to wait another hour before you can try it. Whether that's
like Call of Cthulhu's psychotherapy.
Yeah. You can roll low enough on psychotherapy in Call of Cthulhu that person never trusts you with their sanity again.
We've all had this experience.
Indeed. So whether that's relevant to your game is going to depend a lot on, outside of game rule factors. Like, does it matter if we sit here for another hour or not? Is there a reason we're not just, healing up completely, etc.? Right. Let's say, we gave them an hour rest last time. We'll give them an hour time before they need to get to deliver the MacGuffin appointment again. So what's the duration on this? Mage armor lasts for 24 hours. Neat. Okay. So heals is going to make a medicine check at DC 15 to try to heal punch. If successful, it'll restore 2d8 hit points. If it's a critical success, it'll heal 48 hit points. And there's another option we'll get to in a minute. That is exactly a 15.
Wow.
Good job. So 2d8 will restore Sad. 2 hit points. Oops. Accidentally healed himself, but he wasn't damaged anyway. So, you can spend the rest of the hour treating the same patient to double the amount of healing that you rolled.
I think that's probably worth it.
Probably worth it here, since he rolled a 2. Hero points cannot be used on non-D20 rolls, so I'm pretty sure. Let's see, is there? Yeah, there's no option there to reroll with. There's an option here to reroll with the hero point. Okay, so we're going in a little more beat up than we were in D&D, but I think it's fine.
And the other things you can do during rest.
So some classes make available what are basically encounter spells, once per short rest sort of abilities. I suppose Heals could spend one of his, healing spells, but I don't think it's worth it at this point, frankly. Okay. Save that for combat, really.
But these characters...
None of these characters have focus, what's called a focus spell. Zaps has a... There we go, we can give an example here. Zaps has a focus pool of 1 and has 1 focus spell, which can be it's force bolt. It's like a tiny single magic missile.
Gotcha.
It only takes one action to cast, so they could cast that and then use their other 2 actions to cast something else or move and attack. So it's nice and versatile. You can get your focus points back by spending 10 minutes on the refocus activity, which generally, like in the case of a wizard, is studying the spell book. In the case of a cleric, is praying. The important thing is, you can only do one thing at a time generally, so heals probably can't refocus by doing, the treat wounds activity. But I believe if he worships a god of healing, that's like one of the class features of having the healing domain is you can refocus by treating wounds.
Nice.
So yeah, that's some interesting stuff there, and everybody, your class will tell you what you have to do, but it's basically 10 minutes, sit down. So it's a short rest like activity that takes about 10 minutes. Treat wounds is a short rest like activity that takes 10 to 60 minutes or keep going. Refocus always takes 10 minutes. There's other stuff. Each class will have their own thing that's
Right.
like, get this back by spending 10 minutes. They never use the word short rest. Short rest doesn't exist, but it basically exists just without saying it. Long rests are not...
And it's really flexible.
It's super flexible. We need to spend, like, if punch were really low, it's interesting because, like, if we were first level in D&D, if punch rolls a 1 on that hit die to recover damage on on the rest, then she's done. She doesn't have any more hit dice to spend, but we could sit here all day treating wounds if we wanted to,
Right.
until we're full. Pathfinder's built around the idea that you're pretty much full on hit points when you come into a fight. You can take multiple fights at a time if you want, but it's pretty much built on the idea that you're gonna sit down after any fight that's even slightly challenging and treat your wounds. So it makes medicine very important.
Right. Interesting.
Which is, it's not really there in the text of the game. They don't tell everybody, hey, take medicine so that you can short rest, which is an interesting, thing. And part of conversion would be, oh, hey, make sure to use one of your skills to get medicine, even if your other character didn't have it, because it'd be super handy to have everybody treating wounds on everybody.
Yeah.
Instead of sitting here for 3 hours waiting for heals to treat everybody. And you could also, while this is going on, say Zaps has nothing to do, you can just take one of those activities like, okay, I'm going to scout. So we have +1 to all our initiatives. If,
Nice.
Something comes up while we're trying to heal. That kind of stuff.
Nice.
All right. Off to...
So lots more you can do with downtime.
It's a lot more you can do with downtime. The downtime system in Pathfinder is, to my experience, much more robust than the one in D&D. For me, it's just, I don't know, it might just be easier to read because of how codified everything is.
Right.
I know, there's a lot of stuff in Player's Handbook, DM's Guide, Xanathar's, for different things. We've had fun in one of my games running a business with the rules in the Penny Arcade book, whose name I can't remember.
Yeah.
We haven't done all the Penny Arcade stuff, but the business rules have been fun to implement. But whenever I run it, it's always a long journey through many different unrelated charts and tables that aren't very unified. Don't have a make a skill check, and then here's what happens on a critical success, failure, critical failure. Whereas most of the downtime activities in Pathfinder, you're crafting, you're earning an income, you're gathering information, these kind of things, doing research, have very straightforward. This is what you get out of stuff. So
easier to internalize quickly.
I found it easier to internalize quickly. Yeah, I barely run downtime in D&D, but in Pathfinder, I'm like, I could see this working better. Also, natural healing is a lot slower. Long rest gives you your constitution bonus times your level, Minimum 1.
So again, really focusing on having medicine skills.
Really focusing on having if nobody has medicine skill and you're all down 20 hit points, you're going to be sitting around for a while, or finding potions or crafting potions or whatnot. So yeah, but generally you're just going to treat wounds until everybody's okay. Unless you're at 3 hit points and you're afraid when the person treats wounds, they're going to crit fail and make you dying again.
Okay, right. So now we have a role play, a social encounter.
Yes.
With some.
All right, we've got our acolyte over here, our evil acolyte, who's the story we came up with was that these folks were hired by the acolyte to bring to find and bring an item that for whatever purpose the story is, but the actual purpose is to raise zombies and cause havoc. So the idea is they're going to get into a social encounter with the acolyte, and if they fail their social encounter, they're going to be jumped by zombies. They're going to be jumped by zombies anyway. Let's get real.
It's just how prepared they are to get into this combat depends on the outcome of this role-play social encounter.
Correct. So what we'll do is, previously we had Punch make an intimidate check to try and get more money out of this acolyte. That was intimidation or intimidate versus the acolyte's persuasion. In this case, it will just be versus their will DC, because that's how it works. Will is +6 for the acolyte, so the DC is 16. So Punch is just looking for a 16 on an intimidation check. And this is actually beyond just intimidate. This is the coerce activity.
Interesting.
Let's get to. Yeah. I can't see it on the screen here, but I've been popping up the Archives of Nethys rules reference, which is very nice especially for a new game we've not run before. You can just pop up actually I can change that. Let me change the cast to desktop. Cool. I can't see that text there now, but so the coerce action or activity, with threats either veiled or overt, you attempt to bully a creature into doing what you want. Spend a minute of conversation with the creature you can see. At the end of the conversation, attempt an intimidation check against its will DC, modified by whatever. And then you can change the attitude of the creature. Yeah, they've got an attitude thing where they're unfriendly or they're friendly or they're.
I'd like to see that.
Sure. Let's see if we've. So there's 5 degrees of attitudes. I should probably do a little bit more zoom on this. So it's easier to read. So most people start out as indifferent. This one probably is unfriendly because they're about to kill you, dislikes you, and doesn't want to help you. Or could be hostile, actively works against you and might attack you because of their dislike. They're about to try to kill the PCs, so they might be at hostile already. But each of those has its own.
They're pretending not to be hostile, though. So is there a way in the rules to figure out what a thing's actual attitude towards you is?
Yes, and that's what Heels did in the D&D. So that's the sense motive activity.
Right. Okay.
So we're gonna make on a critical success, the target gives you the information you seek or agrees to follow your directives or whatever. So, but after a little while, they're going to become unfriendly to you because you intimidated them. Intimidation causes hostility. So let's see what Punch does with this intimidation. A 15. Should have gotten the guidance spell from Heels to make that a 16. I have seen somebody's house rule of using hero points to just add +1 to a die roll retroactively, which seems like a lot of fun. Oh, you missed by 1! Spend the resource.
Right.
So that is a failure. Failure on coerce. Target doesn't do what you say. Target doesn't do what you say. And if they were not already unfriendly or hostile, they become unfriendly. So maybe it's at this point, maybe it's Punch's fault that this is all happening. So Heels is going to try to was using insight in D&D to try and figure out if this acolyte was up to no good. In Pathfinder, we will try to sense the motive of the NPC. It is a secret perception check compared to the deception DC of the creature. So our acolyte has no training in deception. Let's add it in just so I have a number here. Deception, it just says 0. Don't know if I'd have to work those numbers out on my own, but sure, we'll just call it a 10. So, and there's no insight, it's just perception. I mean, they're both wisdom based.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
you're perceiving, is he being twitchy? Oops, I accidentally rolled for initiative with perception. But he rolls a critical failure. Now, that's a secret roll. One thing about secret rolls is you can't spend hero points on them because you don't know what they were in the first place.
Yeah, interesting.
Though there is a house rule to basically, an optional rule, not house rule, optional rule to basically treat them like inspiration at that point and go, oh, this is important. I'm going to go ahead and spend a hero point, and then the DM will roll with advantage for you and do the result based on that. But so this is a secret roll, so Heels does not know, obviously in this case we're just doing it all out in the open, does not know that he's rolled a 1, and instead, if we go to sense motive, critical failure, you get a false sense of the creature's intentions. On a failure, you detect what the deceptive creature wants you to believe. If they're not being deceptive, you believe they're behaving normally, blah, blah, blah. So on a failure, trying to discover if somebody's deceptive, if they're not being deceptive, you're still okay.
Yeah.
On a critical failure, you're going to think somebody's lying when they're not.
Gotcha.
Now, in this case, this acolyte is up to no good. So
Heels is just like, yep.
Heels is like, yeah, that's fine. Everything's fine. I accidentally rolled that using initiative rather than skill check, which is actually going to mess with something here.
Okay. 6.
We can fix it anyway. So I'll show that in a minute.
Okay.
So Zaps was going to be scanning the area. Previously was doing perception versus stealth on the zombie. So in this case, again, they'll be using the seek action to try to find something hidden. And there's a very detailed stealth system in Pathfinder. So those zombies are currently undetected, which means the creature can't see you, has no idea where you are, etc. But from undetected is hidden, so you can know somebody is hidden and vaguely where they are, but still not exactly where they are.
Right.
And then, so you can take something from...
Hear a twig and go like,
yeah, so you could take something from undetected to hidden, so you know that there's something out there, but not exactly where. So, or with, a good enough success, you can take it to observed, etc. So we're going to go versus, let's see, I believe it's versus the stealth DC, would make sense. Yep, the stealth DC of any undetected or hidden creatures in the area. So they'll wander over here, have a look in this direction. Stealth DC of this zombie is going to be very low. Dex is -2 and it's not trained, so that is going to be an 8 DC. Make that stealth check, or that perception check. Oops. Wow. Wow. Okay. So now we're going to start a combat. We got 2 zombies. We've got an acolyte.
So in our 5e control test, you just ran a combat however you wanted. This time, obviously, you're going to want to narrate.
Yes, I will narrate a bit more since this is, not D&D. So, at this point, everybody will roll. You'll notice on some of these, like Zaps has a little fist here. That says click to set the initiative to the selected token of that roll. That's an option the DM can do, is to just be like, okay, I know we're rolling for initiative, but you don't yet. Oh, you made a perception check to see what this guy's up to. Okay, you're making an intimidation check versus, this person's deception. I'm gonna re-roll in this case just because it's our party's kind of screwed with these 2 natural ones.
But that breaks the concept of a surprise initiative into the roleplay space.
That's true. We could just so actually, yeah. We don't need to roll again. Let's just use these results. So for Zaps, I can click on this thing here. I mean, obviously, if you're not using VTT, and whoops, it made everybody's initiative 4.
It's everyone's turn.
It's everyone's turn. Let me fix that. I didn't. Oh, because I had everybody selected. Neat. Well, I'm gonna close this combat. I'm gonna start a new one. Yeah. Sorry. Begin combat. End combat. All right. I didn't realize it worked off of the selection thing. Boundary. Okay. Deselect everybody. Let's go back to Zaps. Make that your initiative. Okay. Then. So this is a little just getting through the virtual tabletop. Punch will get an initiative based on that. Heals. I forgot to do the thing, so I'm just going to manually make it an 8. Okay. The Acolyte was being deceptive. So I'm going to have the Acolyte roll Deception for initiative.
Nice.
Yep. And the zombies were being stealthy, so I'm going to have them roll stealth for initiative. Which stealth, add skill. I have to do it. Whoops. I have to do it manually because it should be at -2 because they're zombies. Oh, actually, no. We're gonna stick with the +0 there. Actually, it'd be even better than that. All right, I'm gonna do it right. So their stealth skill is -2. And I can't get it to save. I'm just gonna keep rolling as I try to edit it. Edit here. Untrained. Alright, we have to add stealth. Add it. I'm gonna call it -2. Update actor. Missed the giant update actor button there. No, it's still not. Alright, that's just a limitation of the system we're using. So, anyway, they should be at a -2 for their dexterity. And they should be, but they also have superior cover because they're completely hidden, which gives a +4 to armor class, +4 to reflex saves, and +4 to stealth checks, including the initiative stealth check.
Nice.
So they're at -2 naturally, but they're going to be at a +2 total on the die, -2, +4. So I will try to make that happen now. Oh. I see. It's already calculating they get a +2 base modifier for something. So I will add a +4. Add. Roll. This zombie will end up, after all that, getting a 9 for initiative. And this other one I wish I could just click the same thing again. Oops. So I've been advised by the core rulebook of Pathfinder that doing the thing I usually do in D&D of rolling for all the monsters and having them have the same initiative if they're the same type of monster, can lead to super deadly situations where all the monsters are going first. Or all the monsters are able to really coordinate with each other and go, this one's going to run out. Because there's flanking in this game, because there's things you can do to give your friends advantages and disadvantages. It's not called advantage or disadvantage, but you know, too much piling onto a single character can cause some bad stuff to happen. Yeah. So we're going to avoid that for now, hopefully.
So yeah, so you want to, as a GM, make sure you're not bunching up things purposefully.
Yes, sometimes it'll make sense. Sometimes there's a reason for it. But oops, I already had take cover right there. But yeah, you'll.
You can't shortcut the initiative.
You wanna be intentional with that, yeah. And so only 2 of our characters actually use perception for their initiative in this. So that's an interesting thing. So Pathfinder might be a bit deadlier than 5th edition, and also I'm not as familiar with it, so let's find out how horrible this gets. Our Acolyte of Nethys is right next to Punch, who has an opportunity attack. Not everybody in Pathfinder has opportunity attacks, but fighters definitely do. What he'd like to do is cast this Cry of Destruction spell, which is like a cone of damage on everybody. But, let me quote it here. I wonder if it's going to show everything. It has a somatic component to it. Any spell with a somatic component has the manipulate trait. When you manipulate something within somebody's adjacent to somebody who has an attack of opportunity, they get to opportunity attack you to try to do damage or interrupt your spell. Attacks of opportunity, if they critically hit, they disrupt whatever provoked them, except for movement. So if you try and drink a potion right next to a fighter, they might crit you and just break the potion you're trying to drink. In this case, it would break the spell that this Acolyte is trying to do. So in order to... The smart move for the Acolyte would be to step 5 feet away, which is 1 action. It's similar to Shift previously in 4th and 3rd edition. It's kind of like Disengage in 5th edition, but not. So, yeah, Pathfinder Combat again. Everybody gets 3 actions. The Acolyte could cast this Cry of Destruction spell for 2 actions. The smart thing to do, quote-unquote, would be to back away so that there's not a chance to get an opportunity attack. Spend 1 action moving 5 feet. It's the 1 movement that doesn't provoke opportunity attacks, and then cast the spell. But if he backs away 5 feet, the wizard's going to be out of range of the spell. So instead, he's going to be really exciting here. He's going to cast Magic Missile, which, let's see, of course, has a somatic component as well. He's going to cast Magic Missile just for 1 action. And this is, again, showing off difference. In D&D, you can only cast 2 spells if one of them is a cantrip. And of course, one has to be an action and one has to be a bonus action. Here, he's going to try and cast Magic Missile for 1 action and Cry of Destruction for 2 actions, because Cry of Destruction does more damage after you've done damage to something. So, since Magic Missile is going to be quote-unquote automatic, alright, so he's going to cast Magic Missile at this fighter right in front of him, which is going to cause an opportunity attack. So, she's going to attack first. How do I target? Her attack with her Dwarven War Axe. We'll just assume everybody had their weapons out. Pathfinder takes an action to draw your weapon, so we'll go with Fist. We'll say she didn't have her weapon out. She was just intimidating this guy and surprised that we're fighting. So she'll try and punch him. A 17. Oop. Did not have him targeted. His armor class is 15, so that'll hit, but it's not enough to crit, so he won't take critical damage from it, or it won't interrupt his spell. I cannot tell if she's targeting him or not. So roll damage. Do 5 damage to this dude. And then he's going to magic missile her back. That. Damage. She's going to take 2. That's fine. She doesn't have her shield out, so she can't prevent that. Oh, then he's going to do his big spell, Cry of Destruction. This is once per encounter, basically, for him. It's a focus spell. It's a 15-foot cone, DC 17, basic fortitude save. Could kill a lot of people or something. We'll find out. 15-foot cone, from his own square, catches all 3 of them. So everybody gets to make a DC 17 basic fortitude save. Oh, I'm targeting. You. Fortitude save. Failure. So she's going to take... damage. Oops. I accidentally hit the save button again. Damage button isn't working. Whatever. It's a D12. Woo!
Wow.
11 damage to a first level wizard. She's not down. It's Pathfinder. Alright, heals. Gonna make his basic fortitude save. And succeed, so he'll take half damage. Half of 6. Takes 3. And punch. Basic fortitude save. I think if I'd select... Oh, that's a critical failure. She's going to take double damage. So we're going to roll the D12 and then double it.
Yikes.
So she's taking 12. She's still up. Again, first level characters, it's fine. I'll note our 5th edition characters took 0 damage over the course of this fight.
Yeah.
And now
That's just dice.
Yeah, that's just dice. And also this Acolyte had much better Alpha Strike capabilities. Alright, then one of our zombie shamblers is going to come out of the woods. But just make them both visible at this point, so they're easier to deal with. This zombie shambler. So zombies in Pathfinder are permanently slowed. Slowed means you get 1 fewer action per turn. And they were buried in the dirt, so the first action is going to be to stand up. The second action is going to be to move its speed. Up to the fighter, and that's an entire turn. Now punch! Punch is not feeling great, but she's got a healer and some trust. So, she's going to draw her axe. That's one action. She's going to raise her shield. That is another action. Gives her, in order to actually use your shield in Pathfinder, you have to spend an action during your turn raising it over and over again. Every turn you have to pick it up. It makes you make a decision between offense and defense. That gives her +2 to her armor class and activates a reaction. Attack of opportunity is a reaction. Shield block is a reaction. With a shield block, open up her sheet, she's got a metal shield which has a hardness of 5 and 20 hit points. With her shield block, she can interpose that on any attack on herself to reduce the damage by the amount of the hardness of the shield, so 5, and then both she and the shield take the remaining damage. Once the shield's taken half damage, it's broken, and once it's taken full damage, it's destroyed. So once it's broken, I don't remember if you can actually block with it. I'll look that up. So basically, she's got 10 extra hit points hiding on this shield that she can use to stay alive. It's really good at those weak attacks. Like if she'd had that out when that magic missile hit for 2, she could just be like, no. Anyway, then she's going to use her last action to attack, because holy crap. She'd like to power attack, but that takes 2 actions, so instead she's just going to do her normal.
Hope that heals keeps her up long enough.
And hope that heals keeps her up, which she's got a... I'll show how the heal spell works.
Nice.
It's going to be perfect for right now. And she rolls and gets a success.
Woo!
Whoa! So this is DM information only for this mod I have. Hit by 9. Had she hit by 10, that would have been a critical hit on her 16 on the die. So, again, the dice are just being a little mean to these folks. You can do 4... You can do 8 damage to this guy. Which...
So what does happen on a crit for just a regular attack like that?
On a crit... On a... So same as rolling a 20. It is for the default rule in Pathfinder is double damage.
Mm-hmm.
There are similar to 4th edition. Once you have enough expertise, I think once you get to expert, I have to check that actually for this fighter because fighters start at expert training on their weapons. Once you get to a certain point that I'll have to discover because I'm still learning the rules. You get critical effects, like a spear could push somebody back, or a whip could trip somebody, or a dagger could do bleeding damage, persistent damage over time as you cut something, that kind of stuff. They all have individual special effects. Handguns have like a ricochet where you hit somebody else within range for some damage. I think, I don't know, that might have been an optional... that might have been an unofficial rule. I don't remember. So anyway, she is hit. Her shield is up. That's an entire Pathfinder turn. Draw weapon, raise shield, attack.
But the takeaway is that weapons get to do fancy things on crits the better you get with them.
The better you get with them, weapons get to do fancy things on crits. Correct. All right, this zombie shambler is also going to stand up and then just shamble into range. Movement's different. You can see here this zombie shambler is moving 3 squares, and it's charging him 20 feet for the movement because every second diagonal counts double to try to make to try to deal with the fact that diagonal movement should be farther than 10 feet. Blah blah blah.
Yeah,
that's not a huge thing. You can do whatever you want, obviously.
So just changing that, the grid to a hex would help with that. But
yeah, but nobody wants. Hexes have their own problems. So
sure.
All right, heals. Heals is going to heal. So heal, like Magic Missile, has some variable effects depending on how many actions you spend. You can spend 1 action to have it have a range of touch. So like Cure Wounds in D&D.
Yeah.
It'll cure a D8 hit points. You can spend 2 actions to have it have a range of 30 feet. There's your Healing Word in D&D. So you can have it go to somebody within 30 feet.
Healing Word, except it also increases.
It increases the hit points restored by 8. I forgot about that.
So way better.
Way better Healing Word. Thank you. Also notice the components go up. So heal, 1 action is somatic. You're just, you just point at somebody. You're just touching them and they're healing. 2 actions, verbal somatic. 3 actions, material, somatic, and verbal. That's a core rule of Pathfinder is each component costs 1 action.
Interesting. Okay.
So 3 actions, you disperse positive energy in a 30-foot emanation. That's a 30-foot radius around yourself. This targets all living and undead creatures in the burst. So it doesn't have the plus a d8, so it's a d8 healing to everybody. You can, when you do an emanation, you can choose whether it includes yourself or not. Obviously, if you've got an explosion. No, it doesn't.
All living and undead creatures.
Yes. So there's some tactics here. If heals both punch and zaps, the acolyte will also benefit from the healing because the acolyte is a living creature. You can't. There's feats for that probably. I don't know for certain.
Have got a Final Fantasy thing on the undead happening?
We do.
Yay.
Let's see. Does it show it here? I believe it's just the base rules for undead. Yeah. The base rules for undead. If the target is undead, you deal that amount of positive damage to it, but it gets a basic fortitude save. So that's where the DC 17 on his heal spell comes
So, frankly, it'd be worth maybe healing the Acolyte a little bit
in order to
both heal both your party members and deal a little bit of damage to the undead.
Yes, correct.
Nice.
So, we're going to cast that at 3 actions. We're going to roll the damage / healing is 4. So I will select everybody who's alive here and give them healing of 4. And then the 2 zombies are going to have to make DC 17 fortitude saves. First one makes a normal save, so it'll take half of that damage. 2. Oops. And the other one makes a 23, which is a normal save. So, it wasn't great, but it's better than nothing. Oops. Okay. That was a 3-action, one single 3-action spell, however.
Amazing.
Zaps. Zap's going to have to do some cool shit. Zaps is at 5 hit points.
Fix it, Zaps.
What do we got for spells here, Zaps? We've got Grease. Could
Funny.
make area 4 contiguous 5-foot squares. All solid ground in the area is covered with grease. Each creature standing on the greasy surface must make a reflex save or an acrobatics check. Its choice. That's interesting. Acrobatics can step in for reflex save on that particular spell, possibly other ones. Or fall prone. Prone is really bad in Pathfinder because standing up provokes attacks of opportunity.
Yikes.
Creatures using an action to move onto the greasy surface. So my gut says these zombies have pretty bad reflex, and I already know they're slow, so they only have 2 actions a turn. So if they have to spend one of those standing up, fantastic.
Now, how do attacks of opportunity work? I know in 4th edition D&D there were opportunity attacks and other reaction types.
Yes. So the basic one, attack of opportunity, nothing has by default. It's not a default rule. Fighters get that at first level, attack of opportunity. Other classes, again with the monsters, the ones that are very efficient fighters are going to have it. These zombies don't have it, but the characters don't technically know that unless somebody makes a knowledge check. I mean, the players might remember because they've fought zombies
default,
before.
which means that prone, standing up, prone opportunity attacks isn't quite as deadly as it.
It's not quite as deadly as it might be, but I was messing around earlier with a dragon that has like a sweeping tail reaction, and it was just somebody would, and it would knock you down, and then when you would try to stand up, it was pretty awful. Dragons are spooky like they were in 4th edition, frankly. So yeah, it's not as bad as it could be, but also other classes have other things. Paladins can intercede and prevent damage. Barbarians can pursue things that are running away from them. They get a free move after somebody that's running away from them, using a reaction, that kind of stuff.
Right. So if both these zombies went down and Punch was standing next to them and they both tried to stand up.
Punch has 1 reaction per turn, like D&D. Though there are feats you can use to get more. Punch, frankly, at this stage would probably save that reaction for blocking with the shield rather than attacking. But yeah, mostly we're looking at eating up their action economy.
Yep.
So with that in mind, Zaps is going to step back 5 feet. Doesn't matter whether those zombies have attacks of opportunity or not. Zaps does not want to be standing next to one if it can just stand back up and punch them. Then going to cast Grease. Has a casting time of 2, 4 contiguous 5-foot squares. So we'll do a little knight here. We have grease. Yeah. Grease. Strange orange grease. And we click cast on that, and that'll make grease just disappear, get scratched out because it has been cast. And then both these guys are going to have to make reflex saves. As suspected, not very good. Falls prone. We got prone. This one. Also gives them flat-footed, which gives them a -2 to their armor class, and applies all the fun rogue stuff, which we don't have a rogue here, but you know, that's the sort of have advantage. That's the effect that would be advantage in D&D is flat-footed. The thing gets flat-footed, then it has a -2 armor class, and other things can proc off of flat-footed.
Yeah.
This one will make a reflex save. Critically fails. I don't recall if the spell had anything for a critical failure. Well, it's a... Let's see. Reflex save. Yeah, this is one of the few times there's nothing to do on a critical failure on grease. Just gonna double check the actual rules. Yep, that's one of the few where there's no critical fail state, but that's fine. As a DM, you could be like, well, he fell so hard, you know what?
He cracked his head.
He cracked his head and took a d6 damage or something, but we're just doing this stock right now. Okay, so that was 3 actions for Zaps. Back to this Acolyte of Nethys, who is at 7 hit points and has a fighter that hit them with an opportunity attack last time, so he's going to spend 1 action to step away. Holy crap. Then cast something horrible. Well, could have cast harm before moving. Harm, like heal, it's reverse.
Yeah.
You could do a ranged harm for 2 actions that would do a d8 plus 8 damage to somebody. Yeah, let's throw that. He knows what a problem the healer could be. He's going to throw that at the healer.
Wow.
I mean, the other 2 are pretty low. He could just take somebody down.
Whatever works at this point.
Right? So he'll cast harm.
Also dependent on whether you feel like you've explored the combat enough.
Right? He makes his fortitude save, so he's only going to take half of this d8 plus 8 damage.
Nice.
So that didn't. So that's a 12. He's going to take 6 damage. So actually could have gone after anybody on that. All right. Zombie Shambler. Punch is going next. Is going to want to save that. So Zombie Shambler is going to stand up for an action. That standing up has the move trait, so Punch could make an attack of opportunity, but is saving her reaction for the inevitable attack from the zombie, which will be a fist attack.
If that zombie, can that zombie attack from prone?
Yes, it could attack from prone at -2. That's a 9, which is... Oh, had a whole bunch of people targeted, but missed by 4, so didn't even need to use the shield on that. Oops, got too many people targeted. So yeah, he could have attacked at -2, which would have missed by even more. And of course with the crit fail, well, crit fail doesn't really do anything on an attack, so it's not a big deal. But actually, let me check grease. Creatures using an action to move onto the greasy surface. Creature that steps or crawls doesn't have to attempt. Which creature standing on? I feel like it might have needed to actually make another grease saving throw or fall prone. So we'll have it actually crawl off of the grease, stay prone, and that attack would have been at -2. All right, Punch is now going to try to destroy this zombie. Or, you know what, we're pretty sure these zombies don't have attacks of opportunity. Punch is going to, well, in case they do, she's going to raise her shield first. Then she's going to, oh, in fact, yeah, never mind. No, and we're good. She's going to step, which is like shift. So she's going to move 5 feet this way. And then for her third action, she's going to attack this acolyte again. I thought about leaving the shield down to do a power attack, which can do double damage, but she's low enough on health that she's probably just going to want to make a normal attack.
Tell me about power attack, though.
Yeah, so her power attack...
Is this a fighter thing?
This is a fighter feat you can take.
Okay.
You unleash a particularly powerful attack, takes 2 actions, you make a single attack roll. If it hits, you deal an extra die of weapon damage, so
nice.
Double dice.
Yeah.
However, it counts as, so you can see here, maybe if you're zoomed in, the Dwarven War Axe has a strike of +9. Then it has what's listed here as map -5 and map -10. When you make more than one attack in a turn, the second attack has a -5 to hit. The third attack and any more than third all have -10 to hit on top of whatever you have. So, you know, the second attack is +9, -5 for a total of +4. The third attack is a total of -1. So you still might get a pretty good roll. The power attack, because it took 2 actions and it could do double damage, it counts as 2 attacks if you decide to attack again after. So, so you could do a power attack and then following it with a second attack would count as your third attack for -10. So there's a chance. So because it takes 2 actions, you could make 2 attacks to try and do the same kind of damage. But the first one would be normal, and the second one would be at a -5. So it's putting all that into one strong attack. It also has the flourish keyword, meaning you can only do it once per turn. You'd have to get haste in order to be able to do a 2-action ability more than once per turn anyway. But, so yeah, that's an option she would have had. The Acolyte's only at 7 hit points and can kind of guess that based on how much damage it's taken. And also, we want to have that shield up. So, here comes the axe. A success. This mod I have zooms in and pops up whether it's a hit by 0. Exactly what she needed to hit. Roll for damage. Select this guy. He's going to take 8 damage and be down.
Yay!
Everybody is pleased.
Zombies are pleased.
Zombies are pleased. They no longer have to do what that guy says. Alright, that was Punch's turn. This zombie shambler is going to crawl over to Zaps and make an attack at -2. Oh, it's already got it on there. Prone, -2. Thank you, game. Oop. It was, had too many people targeted. Critically failed twice. You can't get worse than a critical failure. Okay. So, again, because it's a zombie, it's got an ability that makes it only have 2 attacks. So, or sorry, only 2 actions. So it crawled out of the grease, because if it stood up, it was just going to have to immediately make another reflex save, which we all know it was going to fail, and it was just be comical of a...
Yeah.
Alright. So this is looking better. These zombies still have like 18 hit points each. Alright, heals. Heals might be going for another full heal because of the state of
zombies too.
Everybody, and it hurts zombies, yeah. So,
so can you just do that every turn?
He's only got 2. He's only got 2 heals at his current level and charisma. It's based off charisma, not will. So this next turn will be his last heal spell. He's also got Disrupt Undead.
But the level you cast the heal spell at doesn't affect the number of times you get to cast the heal spell?
I'd have to... I don't know that.
Okay.
I believe heal can be heightened. Yeah. So, at this point, we're dealing with first level characters. You have to do it ahead of time in Pathfinder. If you want to cast heal at second level, you have to memorize it in a second level spot. You can't just spontaneously cast it at second level.
Gotcha.
But your focus spell, I think your focus spells level with you. So once he hits third level, I think his spontaneous heals will be casting at second level, and when he hits fifth level, they'll be casting at third.
Mm-hmm.
That standard level progression, and that ups the amount of healing or damage.
Right, and the actions you use for it don't affect how much heal you have left. So
Correct.
Okay.
Cast it twice at the one action, and that's still 2 uses of the spell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not like you have X. That'd be an interesting variant rule. Like, you've got 6 total actions worth of heal. You can parcel it out as 6 little touches or 2 bursts. But no,
but that's not what we're dealing with.
That's not how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right, so let's actually quote heal to the chat box, or roll the heal actually. 1. Good job, heals. Thanks, buddy. All right, so select the living, give them the healing. Oops. Zaps, you can have it too. Select the zombies. Oh, they need to make fort saves. That one's good. Same as D&D. If you're having something that's odd, you round down. So that was the worst healing spell ever. Zaps. All right, Zaps is going to step away from that zombie, and I think it might be magic missile time or electric arc. It's a cantrip. No, let's use the real spells. Well, she could stay put. They could stay put.
Mm-hmm.
See if the zombies have... No, you don't want to get your spell interrupted. Take a step back. Going to magic missile this one that's closer for 2 bolts. Wow, just going to keep rolling 1s. Works just like a D&D magic missile. Does some force damage, automatically hits, etc. Alright, Acolyte's dead. Zombie Shambler. Going to...
So, I have a question.
Yes.
In D&D, in lots of D&D editions, there are a whole bunch of, things you can do in combat that aren't based on character class or power spells that you have, grapple, push,
Yes. Yeah, there's a whole series of those actions available as well.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them are going to be athletics versus your... I might have put them on punch. No. But yeah, there's a bunch of... You can try and push somebody. You can try to trip somebody. You can try to grab somebody. There's disarm is the other one. There's other things like if you're trained in deception, you can do a feint to make somebody flat-footed against your next attack. If you're trained in might also be deception. You can create a distraction where you basically are like, "Hey, look over there," and you then get that person's then flat-footed against your next attack, but then they're immune to your created distraction for a minute, this kind of stuff. So
it sounds like there's even more of those in Pathfinder 2e than there are in your standard D&D edition.
Yeah, there's a lot of them, and usually a few characters are going to focus on a few specific ones.
Yeah.
The main thing is, like in Punch's case here, she's... I need to remember that. She's got an axe and a shield, and almost every one of those requires a free hand. You want to trip somebody, you need a free hand. You want to shove somebody, you need a free hand. But some weapons have the attribute, like spears, I think, have shove, so you can push somebody back with your spear. I don't remember if that's exactly true. I think rapier might have disarm, so you can try and disarm somebody with your rapier. This kind of stuff.
So there are more cool things you can do without having spell casting.
Yes, there's a lot of cool things. Yeah, I have found just messing around with fighters to be very rewarding and fun. There's a swashbuckler class that builds up panache over the course of the combat by doing cool things like using acrobatics to tumble through the space of an enemy, or the standard swinging from a chandelier kind of crap. And then you release your panache in a finishing move to do extra damage.
Nice.
So that class is basically based around doing all those cool things in combat. Rogues definitely benefit from it. If we had a rogue here, they would be fainting and distracting all over the place. In order to, that and flanking are the main ways for a rogue to generate that sneak attack damage, like it would in D&D. Is you do something to make the thing flat-footed. Flanking rules are same as 4th and 3rd edition D&D.
So there has to be someone on either side. It can't be someone next to someone else.
Correct. You need to be able to trace a line through the two people who are flanking and through opposite sides or opposite corners of the enemy. So you couldn't do like here and here would not be flanking, but here and here would be. The stock rule is the flanking only benefits the two people who are flanking. So if there were a third person over here, they would not get the flanking bonus, basically on the theory that the zombie is...
third person in contact, though, with... yeah, okay,
good. So yeah, we'll drag this acolyte around. Make some spare acolytes to demonstrate. So if they were like this, nobody's flanking. If they were like this, the top and bottom one get... the opponent is flat-footed against those two, but this one is not. We house ruled that in my last 4E game, that once you're flanked by people, you're so freaked out that everybody has advantage against you. But I guess the theory is this zombie is now facing this one down and not defending as well against these two. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a zombie turn.
So it's a zombie turn. This zombie is going to stand up. And again, Punch is so low on hit points that she is not going to bother trying to opportunity attack this guy, even though she has the right. And then it's going to make one punch attack on... Missed by 10, so it's a critical failure. Sometimes there will be effects on critical failures. That is a risk of those combat maneuvers. If you try and grapple somebody and you critically fail, you fall over. You try and disarm somebody and you critically fail, you lose the grip on your own weapon.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so you definitely, it makes things exciting, but you definitely want to be there. All right, Punch. Punch is going to, this time, power attack, and then based on how that goes, decide whether she's going to raise her shield or not. So hopefully this will automatically work. Don't know. Nope. Just have to know to roll the extra damage. Oh no, there's a thing right here. Power attack. Cool. Critically hit by 13 with the power attack. So let's roll the critical damage, which will be doubled, and it'll be an extra die because of the power attack. That is 34 damage to this zombie.
Wow.
Which has a weakness to slashing of 5. So it's going to take 39 damage.
Yikes.
And be re-dead.
Yeah, cut in half.
Cut in half.
Felled.
Indeed. So now, does she raise her shield? Does she move over to the other zombie? She's feeling super confident right now. She's going to go over to the other zombie and protect the rest of the group. That's her full movement speed of 20 feet. She just moved through an ally. Allies are not difficult terrain in this game, unlike they are in unlike D&D. In this case, the theory is that the ally will just get out of the way. All right, this other zombie now is going to attack the defenseless. Oh, interesting. Well, now that she doesn't have her shield up, she's going to take an opportunity attack on this guy when he stands up. Because there's no reason to...
Interesting, yeah.
To save that. Previously, she had her shield up. So she'll get a free attack on him. Not power attack.
Stay the heck down.
Right? Stay down. It's a hit on a 3.
Wow.
For 5, plus they're vulnerable 5 to slashing damage, so 10. Oops, she did it to herself. Let's put her back at the 7 she was at, I think. That's one thing that's missing from the D&D one, is there's a way to just undo that. Here I have to remember what she was
From
at.
the Foundry, yeah.
Yeah. That's just a Foundry mod thing. That's for myself. All right, so that was an opportunity attack on the zombie. But it did not stop it from standing up.
Okay.
You can't stop movement. Even with a critical hit, you cannot stop movement with an opportunity attack. I'm sure there
are ways to make that happen in character building.
Yeah, I agree. Again, critically missing. Wow. All right, we're going to get through these zombies again, it looks like. Heals. You want to do something effective this time? Just been casting spells. What do we got? We've got Disrupt Undead. Lance the target with energy. Deal a d6 positive damage plus your spellcasting ability modifier. Target must attempt a basic fortitude save. If it fails, it's also enfeebled for 1 round, which is like -1 strength, I think. So sure, let's Disrupt Undead. Target. He's going to make a fort save. He's going to fail. Damage should be 9. And he explodes a zombie with his Disrupt Undead cantrip.
Hooray!
We did it! It was much more hectic than the other game. But, so there was a lot more... For me, there's a lot more interesting things going on in the combat.
Right.
The 5e game, I was kind of just like spam, spam, spam attack, spam attack, spam attack, spam attack. Let's see where everyone is. And here, like, I never got the opportunity for Punch to use her shield. But that's an interesting feature. Like, she was holding back her opportunity attacks because she was so low on hit points that shield can just automatically interrupt 5 incoming damage.
Right.
So even at 7, it still felt like she was at 12 as long as she didn't waste her reaction attacking. But once she got this one down, she was just like, oh, I moved over here and don't have my shield, so I'm just going to take an opportunity attack.
Is it daunting from a GM perspective to have that many more things that can happen in combat that characters can be built around?
I'm not sure, because I've not GM'd this for anyone but myself right now. I've just been messing around with the Foundry module and playing against myself. However, one of the reasons I never ran 3rd edition D&D or Pathfinder was because I assumed the players were going to have way more knowledge and tricks than I did, and I would just feel dumb as they're like, and I do this, and then I do this cool thing, and then I do this cool thing, and your vampire's dead in 1 round. I'm just like, okay, whatever. So... this just came out 1.5 years ago, but they are really pumping stuff out. They're already on their 3rd monster book and their 2nd book of, their 1st expansion book of extra classes, and they've got 4 more classes coming out this year. So for me, because I tend to GM for people to whom I teach the game, I'm not as intimidated by that, but there's much more system mastery available, I think, in Pathfinder by finding all those, because there's so much customization you can do on your character.
Right.
As a GM, I tend to look at the character builds and dig through them and see everything they can do, and I'm often the GM who's like, hey, don't forget you can don't forget to raise your shield, don't forget to block this, don't forget to this and that and the other, don't forget you could try to disarm this guy, right now I'm super into, I'm in New Game Energy, and it's I'm super excited, and everything seems like it'll be great, but we shall see as we proceed. Obviously, we're this is the first one we're actually doing. We're going to do some play with our actual group in like a side Pathfinder adventure, and see how it goes over with the group. That's also, obviously, our TTRPGTT Taste Test is going to continue next week with something else.
What do you think we should go for? What would you have the most?
I don't.
Talk about that later.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I've played or much read anything of the other systems. So, whichever one's the shordest to read, probably.
How easy would it be to convert encounters that you already kind of have planned, and material that you already kind of have planned into Pathfinder for a game that you're currently running?
As coming over from D&D, there's a lot that's, obviously coming over from D&D to Pathfinder, it's about 90% the same on monsters. The only monsters that aren't there are the ones that D&D has made, not part of the open gaming license, like Mind Flayers and Beholders and Carrion Crawlers and Displacer Beasts. But there's a lot of shared world. Like there's still Mimics and Drow who have purple skin. And, all that Gith are another thing that's not available in Pathfinder, but you could make your own pretty easily. Our last D&D campaign was a non-official D&D adventure path. It still basically had Mind Flayers in it. They just kind of had the serial numbers filed off and were insubstantial. So it's pretty easy. For this, I feel like you see an encounter. So what I did here is I had an acolyte and 2 zombies. For D&D, that was a moderate, a like normal average encounter. For Pathfinder, this was a hard encounter because the acolyte had that, area effect. Everybody takes a D12 damage if they fail their saves.
But you could strip that power off.
I could easily strip that power off. I thought about just taking that out, and putting, just trying to match the spells as best as possible. This one's also higher level. I thought about dropping its hit points to more closely match the. So if I were doing an actual game, I would probably have done that. This, I wanted to put it in exactly the same so that we could see if these 3 just destroyed this group of heroes. We'd be like, "Oh, look out for!" I mean, even still, these health bars are a lot lower than they were in 5e, where nobody took any damage whatsoever.
So it's a little bit numbers crunchy to convert. It's a little bit like making sure that the power levels look the same. Do they have a similar system of rating their encounter difficulty, so it would be easy to see?
They have a way better system of rating encounter difficulty. In my experience, it's the same as the 4th edition D&D. You take X monsters of level, or X monsters of level -1 or level -2 or level +1. All the monsters have a level rather than a challenge rating, and that equates 1-to-1 to player level or PC level. So a level 1 monster, 4 level 1 monsters is pretty much deadly, though, because a level 1 monster is as powerful as a level 1 PC.
Okay.
So if you were doing a miniatures game, 4 level 1 monsters versus 4 level 1 PCs would be a good balanced fight. If you play a role-playing game like that, your party's dead on average after 2 fights. So obviously you don't want to play like that.
Why is that?
When I say balanced, I mean there's a 50% chance that either side is going to win.
Gotcha.
And that's not a good game experience for most role-playing games unless you're group really likes doing roguelikes.
Yeah.
So, like, this was 3 monsters of level 2. The zombies are level -1, which they build in to allow you to have lower level monsters than your first level characters.
Right.
And the Acolyte is level 1. So, that made a pretty good fight, frankly. I believe that counts. I could find it in here. It'd probably take me forever to search for it right now. But encounter. There's a lot of things for encounter. Running a session. All I need is how to make an encounter. Encounter difficulty. Anyway, there's a chart.
Okay.
Somewhere.
So rather than trying to like figure out the formula for converting
There we go.
D&D's 5e's difficulties to Pathfinder's difficulties, you'll want to look at your.
This is so have now. Of course, it doesn't have the number right here. You get a oh man, that's hazards. That's not monsters. So you get a budget. You get an experience point budget based on your how hard you want the encounter to be. So this is how 4E did it as well. So for a moderate encounter, you want 80 experience points worth of monsters. For a severe encounter, you want 120. For an extreme encounter, extreme encounters, the only reason it's really on here as far as I can tell is so that you know what your party shouldn't be dealing with. Once you hit this point, you're like, nope, that's too much. Character adjustment is plus or minus.
You're supposed to lose this one.
Yeah, severe is boss fight. Extreme is you're dead. There's probably there's a story reason you're facing this, and hopefully that story reason is not they're going to kill you. So it doesn't have, unfortunately, I wish this had the XP rewards. That's for not monsters. So monsters have a specific, we can use the, adversary level. There we go. So it's all scaled off of the party level. So one monster of party level is worth 40 experience points.
Right.
So for a moderate fight, where your budget is 80 experience points, that's based on a 4-person party, you need 2 monsters of party level. And that's a moderate fight. 3 is severe, that's tough fight. 4 is extreme, that's the thing I was talking about where if you're playing as a miniatures game, cool. So for our fight, it was 1 monster of party level and 2 monsters of party level -2. So that was a total of 80. However, that would have been a moderate fight for a 4-person party. It was a 3-person party, so we were actually we were closer to severe, but, you know. And the way that experience budget works is that was a 100 experience point fight, so everybody who went through that encounter gets 100 experience points, and every level is 1,000 experience points, and then your experience points reset. So this encounter budget scales to every level. You don't have to keep remaking a new one for, the weird leveling scale. Challenge rating by comparison is a whole bunch of odd math that involves multipliers for how many monsters for the number of monsters. The whole thing about 1 elephant, easy. 2 elephants, deadly.
Yeah. So Pathfinder 2E is easier to make encounters from the GM side.
From the GM, it's a GM's dream for building encounters. From what I've seen, from what little I've seen, and based on my 4 years of running 5-6 years of running 4th edition experience, this sort of encounter budget system is way easier than challenge ratings, but you have to trust the designers have properly leveled their monsters.
Right, so you can't go home ruling too many things.
Yes, but they've got this great chart. A level X monster should have this in its skills, this in its armor class. Its high, medium, and low saves and perception. Its hit points should be about. Its damage should be about. Its attack and spells should be about. And you can adjust those for, like, my 5th level monster is a defendery type, so he's got 2 more in armor class, but I'll make his attacks, 2 less to hit or something like that.
Yeah.
So this is their chart they have for ad hoc monster making. You're just like, oh, I haven't made stats for that thing. There's even a whole process where it's like, oh, somebody attacks the kobold sorcerer that you just made who's 1st level. I guess his armor class is 16. Write that down. And then, he attacks, and his attack, you decide he's got slightly better attack of plus 10, but write that down. And you just kind of make the monster as needed over the course of the fight, according to the level and according to your needs, right? So,
nice.
And you don't have to do the, its dexterity, or sorry, its constitution is this, and its size is this, so therefore its hit points are this, and that's not enough hit points, so I'm going to give it twice as many hit dice, and now the challenge rating has gone up, and the proficiency bonus went up by 1. It's more of a top-down design, where you're just like, I need something that has plus 9 to hit. Well, of course, there's no plus 9 there. Apparently, it's level 2.5. So yeah, that's I find it much easier to improvise with, or at least it seems much easier to improvise with. I haven't had to yet. And my experience in 4E makes me believe that the building will be easier with that budget system. What was I going to say? I've done this with other games. Our end of our Zeitgeist game we ran in 5th edition, and it was all converted from Pathfinder and 4th edition, because there wasn't a 5th edition version yet. And that was like 10 levels. Pathfinder 1st edition and D&D 4th edition I had, and we were running the campaign in 5th edition for like a year. So I do have experience converting, just not in this direction. But a lot of that was just take the same monster and throw it out there, and if things are too easy, just bump it up as you're going, and if things are too hard, bump it down as you're going. None of the players are seeing behind the screen to know that you've suddenly taken away the death ray spell from your ancient red dragon that is about to TPK them just with basic dragon abilities. It's just, we did have a weird owlbear monster TPK, but asterisk. It
was fine. We woke up in an alien ship, shellacked to the wall. So
yeah, you're a DM. You know how to prevent a TPK that you don't want by making the PCs get captured or whatever. Yeah, your players will trust you, hopefully. If your players don't trust you, find new players.
Or be a better GM.
But your players will trust you, and they know that you're trying to make stuff work. And if you're like, wow, whoops, I'm sorry, I completely effed this encounter, and now you're all dead. Just go, oops, that was a weird dream. Whatever it takes to keep it interesting and satisfying. It's going to take time and effort, and you're going to be like, I think this works. No, that didn't work. Okay, now I know every time I do an encounter with zombies, I need to have 1 less than the D&D number of zombies, because that's a better fight. Or every time I do a dragon, I need to make it an age level higher so it's more interesting, or whatever. You'll know once you've done it.
Yeah, but it's not too daunting to build encounters.
No. I would be far more daunted to be going the other direction and trying to convert something into challenge rating. I mean, that's where I messed up the most, was going into 5th edition and trying to make things work. And I either made stuff too easy or I made stuff too hard. And I was constantly just moving a lever here and there to make it make more sense. So I think everybody had fun, though. Yeah. I feel like the monsters in here are more similar to, because there's so much that's similar to 4th edition, it might be easy and interesting to convert 4th edition monsters, but I'm not sure. I mean, even just the zombie, they never got.
But I mean, this is specifically for people who have never converted a game before and who have just started out on D&D 5e because it's got the market saturation.
So let me just back down to the basic thing to do is you open up your book or you look at your adventure that you've already made and you go, you find the common parts. I've got goblins and bugbears and an ogre. Okay, I'm going to pull in some goblins and some bugbears and an ogre. And if the 5e encounter had 12 goblins and that was balanced, and I look at the Pathfinder encounter and it's 12 goblins and it's going to kill the party, I break it down. I'm like, oh, well, a balanced encounter here would be 7 goblins. So now that room's got 7 goblins in it instead of 12. But pretty much keep it the same.
Yeah.
It's everything. The combats are just, the miniatures game. Do whatever you want, make it at a level that's fun. It's try and find something that, for the most part, you're just gonna bring over the same stuff and make sure that it's not too strong. If it's too weak, great. Your players will feel powerful.
Yeah, good. But it's not scary.
It shouldn't be scary. Start with something basic. Do a test run. You've got a basic adventure with like 3 encounters and some talking to people and some skills to test. Convert that over. Do one afternoon with your group. See if it takes off or not.
Yeah. Cool. So I think that's it for this taste test.
I think that's it. This took 2.5 hours, an extra hour over our D&D.
But we spent a long time chatting.
We spent a long time chatting and discovering and, going into more detail. So that's good to know. Probably each one will take 2 to 3 hours to figure out what we're doing. And this is the one I'm most familiar with.
Yeah. So you're already biased on your taste test results. You already want to run this more than you want to run D&D 5e.
True.
So yeah.
Yeah, I haven't checked out anything else. I was like, ooh, that looks good, and I jumped in with both feet. And but
we're gonna keep looking at things because he's not the only one in our game.
Correct.
He's just the one who's gonna run it.
Right. If everybody else doesn't like it, then I'll just take my Pathfinder and go home.
No.
I get.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.